Well, Mississippi State's wide receiver coach had strong words about last year's disappointing wide receiver group, but he sees big potential in this year's unit. We'll tell you why.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for being a Locked On Mississippi State, your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron Spoor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got more assistant coaches interviews for you today. We talked about it yesterday. Phil Loadholt was also on the podium. He talked about the offensive line room. That's going to be a hot topic all season long. Also, they got a wide receiver commit, so it's not just assistant coaches we got to talk about. We got to talk about this new wide receiver that's coming in from the JUCO ranks, something you don't see as much anymore. But speaking of the wide receiver room, we got to talk about the wide receiver group, as that's obviously another big topic for the season. Chad Bumphis, who's the wide receiver coach, he was on the podium. He said a lot of really good quotes. The one that kind of stood out to me was he was asked, Jeff Lebby had a lot of confidence in your group this spring. What gave him that confidence? And he said, I think I said this the other day, I've had really good rooms, but this may be my favorite just because they love ball. You have to pull them off the football field. And then he mentioned several guys that have kind of excited him, like Ayden Williams, Jordan Mosley, were two that he specifically mentioned. And he said, you have to pull them back to protect them selves from overtraining and things like that. So that's the stuff you want to hear right now.
Yeah, that is what you want to hear. And not to, use cliches or anything, but that's typically not what you hear from a group of wide receivers. Receivers over the years have gotten like the diva thing, especially, some of the higher profile ones. They don't tend to be the ones that you hear about just grinding on the field. But this group seems to really be into the practice side of things, which if they nail the process with what we've seen, what a Lebby offense can be that we've seen when he was an OC, I mean, that's what you want. That could be huge for shaping.
Yeah, and remember, he was the wide receiver coach at Utah when they won back-to-back Pac-12 championships and had 2 Rose Bowl appearances, obviously. But so for him to say that this is his favorite room, I mean, it's not like Utah had these big stars that were just these stud receivers, but they had some pretty good rooms. Obviously, anytime you win a conference championship, especially back-to-back, you have a pretty good room. And so for him to say that, this one might be his favorite is obviously awesome to hear. But it's always good to hear in the offseason, or you always hear it in the offseason, how this is the favorite, this is the best room, blah, blah, blah. You got to show it on the field, and this is a very unproven room.
It is very unproven. And yeah, I guess you could say it might be his favorite. If these guys really are working to that level, which he has no reason to lie, just make up that they're out there after practice running routes. But if that's what's happening, I can see why that would be a coach's favorite room that he's ever had. Just because if you have guys that are gym rats like that, just out there every day, putting in extra work, how can you not love that as a coach?
Yeah, and then he also talked about the offense and how wide receiver friendly it was. That was one of your favorite quotes from the whole thing. He said it's a receiver's dream. He was specifically asked about guys like Anthony Evans and Ayden Williams. You can throw Brennan Thompson in that, which he did, and Jordan Mosley he also talked about. But he said it's a receiver's dream. It really is. I say it every year, but we get in here in the offseason and watch self-scout cut-ups. As a receiver, you're going to get one-on-one, and you see how we play. We're going to make them cover all 53 yards. You're going to get one-on-one, and as a receiver, this is all you want. We're going to put you in the best position. You know what the scheme is going to do. You're going to get one-on-one on an island. Go beat the guy across from you. He said some other stuff, but that's true. That's what this offense does. It gives you one-on-one matchups, and it's up for you to be better than the defense.
And they have guys who have the talent to do that on paper. Yeah. Obviously, these are guys who have had different levels of success at, some at Mississippi State, some at other places, but they have the raw talent to do it. Brennan Thompson, Anthony Evans are speed guys. Williams and Mosley are a little bit bigger guys. I mean, those are 2 types of receivers you want one-on-one. And if this actually does function where they are getting one-on-one matchups frequently, like they said, like we've said, this offense wants to score from afar. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he talked about a lot of different players, but he was asked about Brennan Thompson, who we've heard is, obviously has gotten a lot of hype this offseason, represented Mississippi State at SEC Media Days. He said someone who came in here with one mindset. He is all in. He's mature and just carries himself like a professional. Again, the room is really good, so you have multiple leaders in there, but it didn't take long for Brennan to establish himself as a leader in that room. Just someone who has done it. We brought him in here to go be productive and go be a guy for us to help us win games. He's taken that role on and been great for the young guys. You can't say enough good things about BT. Again, the one thing that we hear most often with Brennan Thompson is his leadership.
Yeah, we do. That was brought up many times. And another quote I really like from him, it was about leadership, and it wasn't just Brennan Thompson that's out there being a leader. Jordan Mosley, he mentioned him, and he said, I think I mentioned his name on one of my first interviews when I got here, just because you see how he works, how he carries himself. JMO is a grown man. He's mature. He's been around. He's done it. Shoot, he's been here with 3 different head coaches. You can put him in front of a room and just lead them. And then farther down, he's like, when it's a guy sitting next to you, it means a little more.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And as far as Brennan, he said he's never seen someone as fast on the football field as him. He said he is Olympic fast at different speed, and he thinks it will be fun. And that's so something on the field that he's going to bring is definitely his speed.
Yeah. And we've mentioned that with his speed. And, everyone knows Brennan Thompson's fast. But Anthony Evans is the one that is really talked about as being like that otherworldly type of fast when he's mentioned. And for the coach to be like, no, Brennan Thompson is the one that is.
I think Brennan would get him in a race.
I do too. I mean, watching the little bit of tape that we've seen from Evans, it hadn't been a ton, but I think Thompson would get him. But he's always mentioned as fast, but never that kind of fast.
Right. Yeah. No,
that could be fun.
Yeah, his speed's going to open up this offense for sure. And I will say this, obviously the receiver group was not great last year, but again, part of that was Shapen going down early, and it's just new offense. Offensive line was bad, new offense, like things like that. But he was asked about this group being close and asked if last year's team wasn't close, and he said no, he felt like they were very close last year. But the thing that makes them different this year is they are deeper. He says those top guys are always going to perform, but you can close your eyes and say go, and you feel confident in them going and making a play, doing their job, and just executing. And that's something that we've heard not just from the wide receiver coach, from coaches at all different kinds of positions, that this year's team is just so much deeper at every position, and that's going to be big. And for him to say, I can basically close my eyes and send someone out there and know that they're going to perform, that tells me he has a lot of guys that he feels are out on the same level playing field.
Yeah, and that, or at least a lot of guys he has confidence in. Obviously, there probably is going to be a drop off, but if you still feel confident that a guy is going to go out there and do what he's supposed to,
right,
that's a great place to be in. I mean, execution happens. Like sometimes you're going to drop a pass. That's just human. That happens. People are human. But if you know the guy's going to go out there and he's going to run the right route, be in the right place, get open when he's supposed to get open, all that stuff, that's huge for both him. That puts Shapen's going to have confidence in him. It gives Lebby confidence when he's calling the plays on it's one of my biggest pet peeves with offensive play callers are those plays, the one reads where they're locked on to the one guy. When you have confidence in not just the 3 or 4 guys that are out there, but the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th guys that you're going to run out there, that opens up the offense so much more.
Yeah, it does. And the one thing I'm interested to see, and we've talked about this before, especially with Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans specifically, because they're such good speed guys, but they're little guys. Anthony's got good height, but he's light. Yeah, he's light. Those guys can get pushed around, especially in the SEC, and can get locked up with defensive backs and how physical they can be. So they got to be able to get off that, but they also have to be really technical sound when it comes to their route running, because if they're just going to try to rely on their speed to just beat people, it's just not going to work. And Brennan Thompson saw that last year at Oklahoma. Again, their top 5 guys were out, so he was thrown in and had to be the guy, and he could never really get separation. Now, they had a bunch of offensive issues as well, so there was other things going into that. but he really struggled with separation. And the few times he did get beat, obviously the throw was off or a sack or something. But it's just, he has to be able to win other ways than just his speed. Both of them do.
They do. And with what Coach said about them all putting in work, running the routes after practice, you hope it's good reps. You hope when no one else is out there, they're actually doing, they're not just going through the motions. They're doing the good reps. They're running it's all crisp, and we'll see it on the field.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next, Phil Loadholt talked about the offensive line, and he also talked about his first year as a coach last year, what he learned, and what he expects to improve on coming up this year.
When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day isn't always easy. And that's why I've been loving DripDrop. DripDrop is doctor developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. My go-to flavor is lemon lime. I've been trying to start my day with it almost every day. Put one of those in a water bottle, drink it while I'm getting ready, and I really just feel better throughout the day when I get my hydration, on the right track first thing in the morning. And if I don't get it first thing in the morning, I keep it with me. And we've all been there, those midday crashes. Sometimes you reach for caffeine and sometimes that works, but a lot of times it's the hydration. You're just not getting enough water or whatever. And DripDrop gets you those extra electrolytes to power through the rest of your day. So right now, DripDrop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Phil Loadholt also took the podium where he talked about talked about a lot of things. First off, he talked about it being his first year as full control of his room last year when he was at Colorado. He said that was the first time I had the official title and complete control of my own room. Still, I felt like I had been like that as well as other places before that. For me, it was an opportunity to get full control of the room and see how it goes from there. It did not feel like that much change for me, but I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm thankful to be here now. And so he obviously had to go through some learning curves in that first year. Yeah. And, with his background, obviously was a great college player at Oklahoma, then had a great NFL career. It just feels like it was a natural fit, and he's going to be a really good one. We both think he's going to be one of the better assistants, and wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country.
Yeah, he has the makeup, and you see with the guys he's bringing in, guys want to play for him too, especially when you have a guy who had the college and pro careers that he did. That's a guy you want to learn from. And my favorite quote is he acknowledged something that we have talked about frequently.
Yes.
Here.
Said, I was hoping you'd bring that up.
Bring some bigger bodies in. As one can see, I have an affection for big guys, since I am one myself. And hey, he's self-aware. That's another thing you got to love in a coach.
Yep. We jokingly have said he recruits guys that look like him, but he actually just confirmed he recruits guys that look like him.
That is a strategy, not what he was doing subconsciously.
Right. He said we were able to improve our size, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to do that. I'm excited to see how they help us this fall. And he obviously the size, obviously the depth. Think about the guys he brought in the transfer portal, because remember, he came after, or actually it was just before the new year. So he didn't get a chance to recruit for the Bulldogs winter transfer portal. And he also didn't get to, obviously recruit the high school people. But, Zach Owens comes with him from Colorado, 6'6", 340. Blake Steen from Virginia, 6'6", 340. Brennan Smith from UTEP, who's a center, 6'3", 320. Jaquan Bolden, who I really like, 6'6", 340. And Javen James from Akron, 6'5", 320. That was the offensive line haul for the spring semester. So very big guys.
Yeah, incredibly big guys. And I had to go look up Loadholt's size just to see what he was listed out when he played. He was 6'8", 340. So, He hasn't quite got someone his size yet, but he's gotten close.
Yeah.
Another thing he talked about was the competition. So
yeah, and that center specifically, we both kind of thought Brennan Smith was going to be the guy, but it doesn't sound like that's just a foregone conclusion.
Which is good in most cases.
It's very good, I think.
I mean, there's always this situation where you think it's going to be someone and that guy just doesn't perform well, so it becomes a competition. But this seems like it's actually they're all playing well.
Yeah.
So it become a competition, even if Loadholt, Lebby, everyone kind of had their idea of who the starter would be.
Yeah, no, I think that was really good. And so the guys that he said are competing for that, it's Cannon Boone, Kobe Keenum, and Brennan Smith. Boone is actually a returner who has kind of slid under the radar. Again, people thought Brennan Smith would just kind of step in and take it. So it's interesting to see what ends up happening there. But as far as Boone goes, he said he had a really good winter and spring. He has kind of stepped up into a leadership position within the room. That's what you want to see from your center, because your center has to be your second biggest leader, I believe, on the whole team, not just the offense, behind the quarterback.
Yeah.
And he said, and he is able to play both of the positions inside, and he's one of the biggest guys that I like. I'm excited to see him work during the fall. So it sounds like even if Boone doesn't get the starting job at center, he's going to be a rotational piece at center, at guard. That gives you more versatility.
Yeah, and getting the center right might actually be the biggest choice for an offense after quarterback, because everyone thinks tackles. You have to protect the edge, but center's the one typically setting the protection. He's the one who will slide it if it slides. If an offense actually does that, they're typically the one that makes that call.
Yeah.
So, and also if you get a center that gets blown up and the guy's in the quarterback's face in a second, that's just not going to really work too well for an offense. So, I mean, honestly, getting the center right might be the second biggest part of an offense. So the fact that there's competition and it's actually a bunch of guys playing well, that bodes really well for this team.
Yeah, and Boone's listed at 6'4", 315. He didn't start any games last year, but played 7 games. Yeah.
If he was bigger, he'd be a lock.
Right. He played 1 game at center, 5 at right guard, and 3 at left guard. So he played, quite a bit at different positions even last year. Again, that was not with Loadholt as the coach.
Right.
But he showed his versatility last year, and that's what you need. And you need more depth at every position, but especially the offensive line. And when you got guys that are good but can play multiple positions, that helps even more. And so that's exciting to see what happens there. Another returning player he talked about was Albert Reese. Last year he won the Kent Hull Trophy, which goes to Mississippi's top college offensive lineman. He played guard, he played tackle, but he didn't go through spring practice because of an injury. Loadholt did say he does provide some good versatility for us. He has played in multiple spots across the league, so I know he will help us. I'm not sure where at yet. Getting him healthy is the biggest thing. I do expect him to be ready for the first practice. But because he's been out, that's been kind of the hard thing for him to get back into the flow of things. And because Loadholt wasn't here last year, he's still trying to figure out exactly where he's going to want him. But with the versatility of playing guard and tackle, he's another guy that could add to multiple positions for you.
And for an offensive, for a team, it's not always bad to have an offensive lineman that you don't know where to put. That guy who is kind of serves as your sixth lineman. A guard goes out, he's your guard. A tackle goes out, he's your tackle. Probably not going to fit in at center. Typically, you don't have a guy who can play all 5 positions. But having a guy who could do that, even if Reese isn't a starter, I mean, Loadholt said he has no problem rotating guys. I'd expect him to pretty much play what would amount to starter snaps by the end of the season if he's not actually listed as a starter. A lot of what Loadholt said is just, it's a lot of good stuff. Yeah. The only thing he said that's a little bit concerning is I'm trying to find the leadership in the room. Also, I'm looking for that physicality and who's going to bring it every day and who can be trusted every day. Yeah. Which I get that too. He's new. A lot of these guys are new. You don't know where these guys are going to fit.
Right.
So
but the physicality has to be there every day.
Yeah. That's concerning that you have a whole line of guys who are 6'6", 340, and they're not necessarily bringing the physicality every day.
Right. All right, coming up next, Mississippi State got a wide receiver commit out of the JUCO ranks. So we'll talk about that. That's coming up next. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, Mississippi State got the news. They got Matthew, or Matt is what he goes by, Mayfield. He's a 6'3", 195-pound wide receiver from the JUCO ranks from Compaya, I believe, Lincoln Community College. He played, obviously, last season. He's going to play this season. He's a 2026 commit, so he'll play this season. But in 7 games, he had 13 catches, 274 yards, and 1 touchdown received.
Yeah, he's a interesting guy. You know, you watch some of his tape, and when you watch JUCO tape, a guy you're recruiting, you want to see what he's doing. You want to be able to pick him out without him having to be circled.
Right.
And he's the guy, he's high pointing the ball well. He's jumping over the people who are guarding him. A couple of the clips, he's running away from them. That's the problem with, I guess, kind of speed at the JUCO level. It's much harder to gauge how fast people are because you're not really sure what team, you don't know what those other guys are like, but he looks the part. I mean, got the size, has some decent highlights. So, I mean, it's a guy you take a flyer on at worst.
Well, and he was a 3-star out of high school. He's from Louisiana, so it's not like he was not recruited at all.
Committed to Mississippi State out of high school.
Yeah, and so he's now coming back around. But yeah, it was a 3-star guy. So it's not, again, he has the potential there, and so we'll see what he ultimately ends up becoming as a player. But that's, again, you're not going to get these big 5-stars right now until you start winning on the field. You're not going to get these big 4-star. You got to find the guys that have some potential and see what you can develop into them. And he's got a ton of potential, like you said, watching his tape. And he's now the 27th commitment in the class, which is crazy, just how big this class is already growing.
Yeah, the class is big, and looking through their wide receiver commits for this next class, they've kind of, we talked about how there's not a ton of size in the room right now. There's a lot of size in this next class coming in. All of these guys are, outside of one, are very large for receivers. So maybe it's one of those things they're like, no, we need to be bigger at receiver. And he, like I said, he looks the part. Hopefully, maybe it takes him a year to kind of acclimate to playing in the SEC, but he looks like he can bring some juice either in the form of, kind of get the ball in his hands. He'll shrug off that first guy, get in the open field, or win some jump balls for you.
And like Landon mentioned, he was originally committed in the 2024 class, did not officially sign with the Bulldogs in that cycle. But he talked about it. He said, my first thought was I always wanted to go to Mississippi State since high school. He said, I got off track a little bit, but I'm back now. I love the coaching staff. They stuck with me through the whole process. So it made it really easy to make my decision. And that's exactly what happened, and I think that loyalty probably meant a lot to him.
I think so too. And that's another thing we've talked about that seems to be coming out from this coaching staff is just the way they're able to connect with recruits. Like, they've done a great job. Everything that has come out from every visit, everything has been just how good they are at building relationships. So hopefully they're able to turn that into some wins soon.
Well, I don't want to make this a negative. They also don't have the ability to just turn away from talented players. I mean, obviously, if they have like a major red flag, fine. But if it's something like grades or something, the bigger schools can just say, we'll move on. Schools like Mississippi State, who just came off a 2-10 season, you cannot just do that. And so
that's true.
That also probably played a factor in the whole deal. But no, great for him. How will we get him signed this time and get him on the field for us? But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We told you yesterday we post videos Monday through Friday, but the site we use is not letting us post until they said we've used our limit. So we can't post clips on those sites. Obviously, YouTube will always be there, but those other sites, we won't be able to post until August 1st. So until Friday. So we can't post. But once we're able to, we'll be posting again Monday through Friday on that. So check us out over there. Also hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell, get notified anytime that we post anything. We're up to like 600, I believe 650 subscribers now. So we've moved up quite a bit even over the last day. So thank you guys so much for that. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers by early in the college football season. That would be amazing. But yeah, thank you so much for the support. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.